Hello learners, my name is Dr. Swati Bisht. I am former assistant professor in Indira Gandhi University, Rewari, Haryana. Today I am going to discuss on the issue of male reproductive system. We have divided this video into two parts. So let me discuss what is the learning objective of the present video. So the present video will help student to understand the significance of reproduction and its various types. And secondly, it will give an overview of various major events, phases of reproduction in human being. So, we will focus on the human being. Then thirdly, it will help student to get familiar with the structure and function of male reproductive system with diagrammatical representation. Now, we will discuss about the reproduction and its significance. So, all organisms they reproduce to maintain continuity of life, and the reproduction is a biological process by which living organisms they produce new organisms. So, it has to preserve the species and it also ensure the continuity of life, and it has to transfer genes from one generation to another generation. Then further reproduction ensures diversity and it has evolutionary significance. So, this is the basic biological process that maintains the life in the particular planet, that is Earth. Now, we will discuss about the types of reproduction. So, we can categorize reproduction in two parts. First is asexual reproduction. Single individual produces the copy of itself. So, basically the progeny and the parent, they are genetically identical, and this occurs in prokaryotic, unicellular, eukaryotic and invertebrate and plants. Now comes the sexual reproduction. So, human beings lies in the second category, that is the sexual reproduction that takes place through the copulation. A new organism is produced by a combination of two individuals. So, basically it is biparental. So, here male and female is required, and the progeny, it acquires the trait from both male and female. That means it acquires the trait from both the parents, and sexual reproduction, it ensures genetic diversity and it has evolutionary significance. That means with the changing environment, the progeny they can adapt with the changing factors and the changing environment. Secondly, sexual reproduction. In case of sexual reproduction, the number of progeny produced or the offspring produced is lesser in number in comparison to the asexual reproduction. Here the gametes are formed and they are diploid in number. So, there is a crossing over take place and that gives rise to a combination of genes from both the parents. So, it occurs in the higher animal, plants and human beings. Now, we will discuss in detail major reproductive events in human. So, that starts with first is gametogenesis, that is formation of gamete, that is the male gamete is sperm in the male, and that is through the process of spermatogenesis. Then there is another process, that is oogenesis, that is formation of ova or egg in the female. So, it begins with the formation of male cell, that is sperm, and the female gamete, that is egg. The next step is insemination, that is transfer of sperms by the male into the genital tract of the female during copulation or sexual intercourse. So, in case of the human being, this process takes place inside the body. So, in the sexual reproduction, there could be two kinds of insemination, that is inside the body or outside the body, but in case of human being, it takes place inside the body. Then afterward, after insemination, there is the process of fertilization, जिसमें next जो है निषेचन की क्रिया होती है, and this is the basically the fusion of male gamete, that is sperm, and the female gamete, that is ova, to form zygote. So, sperm is basically haploid and only one set of chromosome. Ova, it has one set of chromosome and they join together and fuses to form zygote, and it is 2n. It has two pair of chromosome, and this process of fertilization take place in the fallopian tube of the female. So, once fertilization has been successfully achieved, then there is a process of cleavage. So, in case of the cleavage, there is rapid mitotic conversion of single cell zygote to multicellular structure, that is called blastocyst. Once blastocyst is formed, then there is a process of implantation. So, implantation, that is the attachment of blastocyst to the uterine wall. That means the blastocyst, it gets attached to the endometrium of the uterine wall, and for this there should be good flow of blood inside the uterus. So, uterus provide the soil to the blastocyst, and there should be good vascularity, and one needs a optimum thickness of the endometrium, that should be around 7 mm. So, that increases the chance of implantation. So, once the implantation has been successfully achieved, the female could be said that she is pregnant. The pregnancy can be detected because once it is implanted, there is rapid developmental activities take place, and because of which there is a release of hormone, that is HCG. And HCG, it keeps the volume of the HCG, it keeps increasing day by day because of the rapid developmental activities, and after some time one can detect the HCG in the urine. So, nowadays one can see there are so many kits are there, pregnancy kits are there. So, one can check through the pregnancy kit. If it comes positive, there are two lines, it is positive, and in case it comes negative, still there are chances. So, one can repeat the same assessment through the kit after a day or two. And because of the increase in the volume of HCG, the women start feeling morning sickness like nausea, vomiting, unease, and so many other things. So, this is the process of implantation. So, once implantation has been achieved, there is placentation, formation of placenta for exchange of nutrition and gaseous between mother and fetus. And afterward, there is organogenesis, that is formation of specific tissues, organ and organ system. Then comes the process of, this is the last phase, that is parturition. Parturition is, that is basically the final delivery of the child, the fetus being expelled from the uterus through the vagina in normal delivery, leading to the birth of the baby. So, whole this process, this from implantation till parturition, this is known as gestation period. So, in case of human being, the gestation period is generally of 9 months. Now, we will discuss in detail about the male reproductive system. So, gonads are the primary sex organ and testes are the gonads. They produce male gamete, that is sperm, and sex hormone, that is testosterone. So, primary sex organs, they are responsible for production of the sperm, male gamete and the sex hormone. Then comes the secondary sex organ. So, the secondary sex organ, they neither produce male gametes nor they produce sex hormone, but they are very crucial because they actively participate in the process of reproduction in various ways. So, the secondary sex organ, they can be further divided into three parts. First is the accessory ducts, second is accessory glands, and third is external genital. So, we will just have a look in the picture, then we will discuss in detail. Here is this is testis, this one is testis, this is lying inside the scrotum. This is the scrotum, there are two testes. right? Then comes, this is the epididymis. This is the duct, this is the accessory ducts. Then there is a vasa differentia which loops over the bladder, and then it joins with the seminal vesicle and it forms ejaculatory duct. So here is the urethra. This is the whole urethra is there. So this is the basic structure of the male reproductive system, and this is the penis. Now we will discuss in detail. So the accessory ducts is composed of rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, vasa differentia, ejaculatory duct. So the accessory ducts, they basically help in the passage and transportation of the sperms. Then comes the accessory glands. Accessory glands, they secrete their substance which are necessary to form semen. So there are 3 glands. This is the seminal vesicle gland, prostate gland and corpus gland. We will have a look in the picture. There are 3 glands. Let us see. This one is, this one can see, this is the seminal vesicle gland. Then this one is the prostate gland, and here is the bulbourethral gland. These 2 bulb-like structure. This is the bulbourethral gland. Then comes the external genital, that is the penis. Now we will discuss about the scrotum. This is the scrotum and testis. So the major endocrine gland is testis or testicle, which are contained in a sac-like structure called the scrotum. Now scrotum is a sac of skin divided into 2 parts which holds the testis, and this scrotum, it protects the testis from any kind of injury. Now this scrotum, we have to be careful that the sperms, the production of sperm is very, very sensitive to the temperature. So scrotum is situated as projection outside the body, which allows it to keep the testis up to 4 or 5 degrees lower than the normal body temperature. Now we will discuss about, this is the basic description of the scrotum, that is the sac-like structure in which the testis lies. Now we will discuss in detail about the testis. So as we all know that the testis is the primary sex organ where sperms are produced and male hormones are produced. Then each testis, it weighs around 15 to 19 gram, and each sac contains 1 testis, and the location of testis is below the symphysis pubis, in front of the upper part of the thigh and behind the penis. Now when there is decrease in the temperature, when the temperature goes down, when the temperature of the body goes down, the smooth muscles of the scrotum, they come closer to the pelvic cavity, that helps to retain its temperature. Now we will have a look into the picture of testis. This is the testis. Here we can see this one is the seminiferous tubule. So this is the lobule. In the lobule there are seminiferous tubules. This is tunica albuginea, and they joins here. This is the network of canals. This we can call testis. This is the rete testis, and they open up with the vasa efferentia, and this vasa efferentia, it joins at the head of epididymis. This is the head of the epididymis, and this is the tail. This is the, it goes down, this is the tail, and it goes further and it becomes duct of difference. Duct of difference. So whole this structure, seminiferous tubule, lobule, rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, this whole structure lies inside the scrotum, and a portion of vasa differentia also lies inside the scrotum, but it goes inside the abdominal cavity. So it connects with the abdominal cavity, and this whole sac-like structure is suspended by the spermatic cord. So in today's lecture, we will discuss in detail one by one. Again, tunica albuginea gets folded and makes the compartment-like structure called lobules. So in each testis, there are 300 to 400 lobules, and each lobule contains coiled loops. Generally, in each lobule, there are 3 to 4 coiled loops, which are called seminiferous tubules. and it is composed of the seminiferous tubule. It is composed of germinal epithelial cell and Sertoli cell. So, these germinal epithelial cell, they give rise to spermatogonia, and spermatogonia, it gives the germ cell, that is sperm. Now, the Sertoli cell, they are also lying inside the seminiferous tubule, which supports the sperm in their growth through providing nutritions. Now comes the Leydig cell. Now, the Leydig cell, they are present between the seminiferous tubule in connective tissues which secretes androgen. So, Leydig cells, they are outside the seminiferous tubule and they give rise to androgen, that is the male testosterone. So, till now we have covered the primary sex organ, that is testis, scrotum and testis. Now, we will discuss in detail about the accessory ducts. Now, the male accessory ducts, that is, first is rete testis. All the seminiferous tubules, they opens into a network called rete testis, and vasa efferents. From rete testis, 8 to 15 tubules called vasa efferents arise. It joins together at the head of epididymis. Then comes epididymis. So, epididymis, it is a large convoluted tubule with length of about 4 meters. It begins at head where it receives vasa efferents. So, this epididymis, it stores and matures the sperm, and it also helps in the growth of the sperm, and it has the vast capacity for the storage of the sperms. Then comes vasa deferens. The epididymis, it leaves the scrotum as the deferent duct and enters the abdominal cavity through the spermatic cord. So, this vasa deferens, it goes through the urinary bladder and it joins with the seminal vesicle. Now, one needs to note down that this vasa deferens, it is easily identifiable and surgically accessible, and this is the reason during male sterilization process, this vasa deferens, there is a incision is made in the vasa deferens, or they are tied, and this is the reason this process is called vasectomy. So, the male sterilization is vasectomy, in which vasa deferens, the incision is made. Now comes the ejaculatory duct. Vasa deferens loops over the urinary bladder, where it is joined by duct from the seminal vesicle to form ejaculatory duct. So, till now we have covered all the accessory ducts which helps in the passage or the transportation and storage of the sperm. Now, we will have a look on the various accessory glands. These are again secondary reproductive organs. So, we will have a look on the male accessory glands. Now, seminal vesicles are two small fibromuscular pouches lined with the columnar epithelium, and this seminal vesicles joins with the vasa deferens to form ejaculatory duct. Function of seminal vesicle, it contributes around 60% of the bulk of the fluid ejaculated during orgasm, and it also provides the important nutrition, the crucial nutrition which is required for the sperms. So, this is the seminal vesicle that pours its secretion into the ejaculatory duct. Now comes the next gland is prostate gland. So, the prostate gland, it lies in the pelvic cavity in front of the rectum and behind the symphysis pubis, surrounding the first part of the urethra. So, it gives a milky appearance to the semen and it contributes approximately 30% of the semen, and it secretes a alkaline fluid. So, this alkaline fluid, it helps to neutralize the wall of the urethra, male urethra, and also it helps to neutralize the vaginal wall, which is generally acidic in female. So, basically this alkaline fluid, it helps to neutralize the acidic wall of urethra and the acidic vaginal ambience into an alkaline So it helps to neutralize. And this prostate gland also secretes certain enzymes that helps to thicken the fluid, and this helps in retaining the semen very close to the cervix, which is very necessary for the process of fertilization. Next, that is the last gland, that is the bulbourethral gland. We also say it as Copper's gland. So this generally secretes just when a man is aroused, it secretes. So it provides basically lubrication to the penis, and it helps in the smooth intercourse, sexual intercourse. So basically it secretes the lubricate, the end of the penis and the lining of the urethra, and smooth sexual intercourse it ensures. But this secret, it may contain certain traces of sperms or semen. So it too have the potential, it has the potential that a woman, she might get pregnant. So now I will wind up my session with this. Till now we have discussed about the sperm. So in the present slide I am going to discuss in a very brief the pathway for passage of sperm. So here you can see this is the seminiferous tubule. Here the sperms are produced, they get the nutrition, and from seminiferous tubule they go to the rete testis, and from rete testis they go to the vasa efferens, and from vasa efferens it goes to epididymis, where they further get mature. So in the epididymis they are mature, and the epididymis again it has a vast storage capacity, and then it goes to the vasa deferens, and from vasa deferens it enters the abdominal cavity, and then it goes to the ejaculatory duct, and from ejaculatory duct it goes to the urethra, and from urethra it is passed out of the body through the external urethra orifice. So this is the whole journey of sperm from seminiferous tubule to urethra. So with this I will like to end my lecture. In the second part we will discuss in detail about the semen, its compositions and other issues related to male reproductive system. Thank you.